Okay, welcome back. It's the GameChanger, and on today's tutorial, we're doing a high ball taper. My boy Zach. I always love high ball tapers. I don't do them often, but this is a good technique to learn. And what makes this video good is because Zach has, first off, he has a great hair texture, but he has a thinner hair texture, and he also has a looser curl pattern. And he also has thin spots, mainly on the top of his head. He has a really big one, kind of on the right side. Near the crown of his hair, so I'll show you guys how to work around that. Zach is getting about a 2.5, and I'll show you. So he hasn't had a haircut in such a long time that his hair will lay in multiple different ways, and with his hair being thin, some spots are going to look like not bald spots, but really thin areas. But what happens is when you put the shaving cream or you lay it down at the end, it'll kind of make the hair lay better. He wants to get his waves back, so he's going to go through a retraining process. So it's very important to know. I'll show you guys how to taper around thin areas, how to work around thin areas. So right here is a very thin spot. So I'm very careful. As you can see, I'm not so much pressing the clipper as firm. So there are so many different ways to cut with the guard, but it's all about the amount of pressure that you apply on the scalp when you're using the clipper. That's very important. So that's why a scalp analysis or a consultation with your client is very important, because you need to know how thin the hair is, so you study. So right here's another thin area, right? It might look bad at first, but once I lay the hair down, it's gonna look totally different. You gotta understand, with his hair being thin, with a loose wave pattern, a loose curl pattern, he hasn't had a haircut so long that his hair doesn't know which way to lay. Now, this is the thinnest area. Now, as you can see, I'm not even putting the clipper on the scalp. See, I'm just pulling the hair up. What I'm gonna do is come back with my plastic tool right here, and I'm gonna cut it down, because now with my levers, I can actually create distance and make that guard longer. So the hair on the front is actually going to be longer because of how thin the hair is. I actually went over with a warm rag right here just to lay it down just a tad bit. You can see the difference. So I can have a good visual as I work. Then I'll come back again, lay it down with the shaving cream to give it a nice finalized look. So little small tips like that will actually help. Now at the ball taper, what I like to do is keep it low on the nape of the neck, right? I like to start with a very even line. I like symmetry, right? Because when you start with a symmetrical line, it'll make the taper look different at the end. A lot of people don't know that final overall look of that fade, the haircut, it all is determined by the little small steps and details. That's why I'm very, very big on the small steps that might not seem like a big deal, right? That's why. Okay, so now we're working the back taper. I'm starting my Andes Masters about halfway open. Now, a very important detail that I want to talk about. I might have to make a video on it so you guys can understand. When you're fading, you do not have to be aggressive on the skin. I repeat, I see a lot of barbers, right? When they're fading, the skin is moving with them. Like the whole head is almost moving as far as like that loose skin. That's why a lot of my techniques is based on stretching the skin. And it's kind of cringy for me because as barbers, like the head is moving with the fade. It's kind of okay. It should be common sense, right? If the skin is moving with the clipper, you're not being fluid or very flush with the fade. See, that's why. See, I'm stretching. If I see loose skin, I'll stretch for one, to create a bigger workspace, and for two, to keep the head skill, because I don't want that skin moving. I want it to move as little as possible when I'm fading, so that way I can be more flush, fluid, and thorough with my fade technique. I'm telling you guys, that little technique right there as far as stretching the skin, or even if you don't stretch, right, be so light, don't press the back of the clipper up against the skin so much. Little things like that can make your fade come out so much better. All right, so now I'm getting that primary line. That was the primary line that I just had right there. I'm taking that primary line out with my Babyless FX. I'm just looking to make sure that the camera angle is good. All right, now I'm using the corner of the blade. Now, what I'm doing with that fade, I don't take that line away. I'm just blending that line in. Very important. Don't take that line away. Just blend it in, right? Because it's a transitional fade. All right. Now I'm taking. This is my 2 on my magic clip. I like the 2. So he has a 2.5 or 2 with the grain. Now what I'm doing is his hair is thicker in some spots, thinner in other spots. I'm debulking. I'll debulk in more spots. I'll debulk more in certain spots than other, because right now this is where I make the hair look even, right? Because even though his hair is thin, no one wants to hear about their flaws. They just want you to make them look good. So I'll debulk, debulk as much as I can with the 2, then I'll come back with the 1.5, do the same thing. Look at my hand placement. I'm so light, and I'm not choking up on the neck of the clipper. Be very gentle. right? The clipper is powerful enough. These are professional grade clippers. You don't have to be aggressive. I'm so serious. Like, if you guys look at this, very light, smooth strokes. I stretch, I comb, right? Hand placement, detail, and finesse is very important. And I comb through it as I go. So you guys watch the techniques, and I'll be back soon. Remember, just debulking. I went from 2 to 1.5, then I come with the 1, then I come with the masters all the way open. All right, you guys watch, and I'll be back soon. But see, look, just comb. I know I should be leaving, but just comb. Okay, well, before I came with the 1, I just wanted to so let me show you something. I came with the I skipped that step, right? So let me show you how. See, light. Look at my stroke, right? Boom. I'm not stiff with my wrist. I pull back. I stroke forward, pull back. Very important. See, the technique. See, and I hit certain spots. Study my technique. Study my hand placements. Study my hand movements. Right. A large part of developing as a barber, for one, it comes with time, because the more you do it, the better you are with the clipper. The more familiar your hands are with the clipper, and the more fluidity you have. All right. Look at the corner of the blade. Stroke a few. Comb a few. All right. You guys watch. I'll be back in a little bit. I want to take a quick second and shout out my boy Mark D Beats for providing me with these amazing, stimulating, dope instrumentals, man. Check him out on Instagram at Mark the letter D Beats, one word. He's phenomenal. He has something for everybody, rappers, any musicians, YouTubers. Check him out. Great content. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. So I've been a licensed barber for 11 years, and one thing I've learned, right? Clippers are not binary, meaning like they don't have a binary function. When you learn how to manipulate your clippers and use them in all sorts of ways, say I flip it here, right? You want to take that one tool, and I'm talking about using all sorts of ways. It's like a utility knife, right? You don't want to just, you can cut your fruit with it, you can cut bark with it. Like, use the clipper, use the angles, use every part of that clipper. When you learn to manipulate your clipper to its full potential, right? Then you get the most out of your clipper. You get the most out of it'll give you the most for your cut, right? See, like the Andes Masters, that's my utility clipper. Like I see, look, I'm boom, hitting little spots with it. I fade with it. Sometimes I even take the line out with it, depending on how I have this particular pair set. And again, hand placement. Now I'm coming with the 1. This is when I have the 1, and I go back, debulk a few spots, and I'm very light. Look at my hand. Look at my hand. Look at my thumb. Right. So I put more pressure at the back of the clipper so I can be lighter on the tip of the clipper. I'll say it again. I hold the clipper back more firmly, so at the top I'm very light, because when I have a strong hand placement, I feel more comfortable that I have control of the blade of the clipper. Then I stroke lighter. All right, so now I'm just hitting little spots. I want to give you that spill. I'll be back soon. But notice I comb every few. I haven't picked up the brush once. If you watch my last few tutorials, I haven't touched the brush, because combing is very important. It helps space the hair. It helps keep spacing. Spacing when cutting hair is very important. Brush clump. A brush is good when you're trying to get a style, when you're trying to get your waves to formulate. But when I need to work, when I need to cut the hair down evenly, I need to space it out. See, there's some thickness around the ear. I'll work on that more when I get up to the front taper. And now I started with these, but they weren't working. They weren't working as sharp as I would like to. And when you have edges and you do too many strokes, you can irritate the skin. So I just switched over to my babbleless edges. Stretch the skin, pull back behind the ear, and I just hit the line. I keep it very natural. I know a lot of people want the dark line in the back, but it's all about how the hair texture is and how the person's hair grows. I don't like pushing areas in, because it's not. It might look good that day, the first 2 or 3 days, but then when it grows back, it looks horrible. Now look, I'm using the tip of the blade. Boom. You don't have to use the whole blade every time. This is for my younger barbers. Utilize that clipper. Manipulate it. Use every part of it. Know that clipper in and out. All right. So it's time to set the primary line for the high taper. The difference between the high taper and the low taper is, for one, the C curve is gone. and also it's higher on the temple. It doesn't go far back. I don't like fades that go too far back. So I like to keep it within radius, closer to the front of the scalp, to the front of the edge up. After I set that primary line, I'll go ahead before I start on that taper. I'll go knock this other side out, and again I just stretch it. Now, so I'm actually not even stretching, but see, I'm using the tip of the blade very lightly. These clippers are very strong, right? And if you have these clippers set correctly, it doesn't require much from the user except for proper technique and understanding how the clipper works. I'll come around the curves, see some little bulk right there. I'll take care of that when I get to the other side of the taper. And I just follow the natural line. All right. All right, so now with the secondary line here, same thing. I just stretch the skin away. Now the only difference between this and the back is I have a much smaller workspace. I have a much smaller space that I have to execute this plan, so I have to be very thorough. And after I put it in, I start to just debulk it. I close the blade halfway and just start to work it out. Right. Watch my wrist more than anything. If you watch my wrist and see where I hold the clipper, right? I change hand positions. It's all about how you can manipulate. Then I switch to the Babylus FX to take that line out. Very strong clipper, set pretty smooth. And I don't rush, right? I see a lot of barbers. I'm not calling anyone out, right? I say these things to kind of help and critique as I bring it up. A lot of barbers rush, right? They want to take your time. The most important thing about a haircut is to know what area that you're actually hitting. I'll say it again. Don't just cut to cut. It's executing. I'll use an analogy, boxing. I'm a big fan of boxing, kickboxing, any combat sport. Boxers don't just throw punches. Boom, I'm setting up to execute. Boom, I'm setting up to execute. Same thing with clippers, right? I might look like I'm cutting, but I know exactly what I'm hitting. Like even when I'm debulking, right? Okay, I know right there, boom. Right there on the corner of his edge is a thicker spot, and lower behind his ear, there's a thicker spot. So I'll debulk those areas more. See, boom, or I'll slow down in those areas so that I can cut more off. Like when you go over an area slower, you'll take more hair off. See, I'm executing at certain angles. Don't just cut to cut. Know what you're doing and execute. Very important. So you guys watch the techniques, and I'll be back if I see anything I need to point out. All right. All right, all right. What you guys think so far? I think it's looking pretty good. See, now I'm just spot hitting. This is what I call spot hitting. When the fade is pretty much in there, I go back, I look for certain areas, and I just hit it, right? Also, another tip, you can spot hit when you're pretty much done. You can spot hit after you lay the hair down with a warm rag, after you soften those cuticles up, because the hair lay different once it's manipulated. Then you can also spot hit after you edge the hair up, because after you edge the hair up, you'll find certain spots. Now, what I'm doing with the razor, right? I'm knocking all of those. I'm knocking off another layer. It's like pretty much creating another line, but it'll make that cut look so much flush and smooth. I'll just come back with my edges, go against the grain or with the grain, take it out. I don't go against the grain with the razor. Don't want to irritate the skin. I don't want to create a hard line. And I'll just hit little spots. Little details matter. Little details matter. I'll spot check. I'll show you the tape on the other side so you guys can see both how I worked it and manipulated it. It looks pretty good. See, if you notice right there in that area, it looks so much more thin. But when I laid it down with the warm rag at the very beginning, it just laid the hair down. Then I'll come back and do it again. Now it's time for the edge up. What I'll do now, I'm laying those hairs down. I want to debulk the edge up too, because remember, his hair is longer on the edge up. It's thinner. But I want to make his hair look as full as possible. I never want to expose the client's flaws or the natural flaws that they have nothing to do with. So remember, his hair is a little longer in the front. I'll come with the warm rag. Sometimes you're gonna add hot lather. About 15 to 30 seconds, nice and warm, and it's so many skills that you learn over time, and that's what these videos are for. Execute. Just learn, right? If you're willing to learn, if you're willing to grow, like I wasn't born like great. I was born competitive, and I was born with the ability to want to learn. If you have those qualities, his girl is bringing him some. If you have those qualities, then you guys can be just as, prolific. All right, so what I'm doing right here is pretty much edging them up. He has a thinner edge up. I put a lot of shaving gel. I use Elegant Shave Gel. His hair is curly, remember, and it's thinner. So what happens, it naturally wants to curl up when you add product. So I weigh it down. I put more gel. I can always wipe it away later. See how I'm using my thumb to stretch away? I'm manipulating the scalp. I manipulate the scalp to get so that I can get the desired effect that I want. Tight skin makes it easier for the razor to work. All right, you guys watch. I'll show you the other side too as I edge them up. See that? Look, boom. Nice amounts of gel, and I just rub it in. See? Because when you use thicker amounts of gel, it lays the hair down. You guys check it out. I'm pretty sure I'm about to end. So you guys watch. Hope you enjoyed the video. Stick around so you can see the before and after. Also, I'm going to add a clip of my next season. Of the next episode of my new series, Game Changing Conversations and Cuts. You guys check it out. Watch the new series. Something new that I want to do, that I'm doing. Travel to different barbershops, meet new barbers, and get a great experience. Great haircut, great conversation. You guys check it out. Stay tuned. Subscribe. I really appreciate all of you guys. Hope you learned something today. Take care. I'm gonna switch the subject. I'm about to have an ADD moment.
Let's go.
Before the camera came on, we was talking about pocket knives and the uses of it, and I was telling Elias, the famous cameraman, my guy, the reason I have a pocket knife is because I had a thought one day. He had a shit. But it's funny. It was from Walmart. It was $4. I like the handle. So we were just talking about, like, if I'm in the car with my family and the car flew over the bridge. I know who thinks about this, but like if the car flew over the bridge over some water, I gotta be able to cut the seatbelts off and break the window. And then he was like, who do you say first if you got 3 kids and a wife in the car? Who do you get out first? Although we already went through this. Who do you get out first? I don't think I asked you.
The missus.
The missus first, why?
That's my next soul of help. If she out there, she can help me as I pass them.
But y'all still in the car though. You see, so I
gotta get her out the car.
You gotta break 2 windows and get off 4 seatbelts.
Why I gotta break 2 windows?
Because you got a window on your side, so you want to have everybody cross over you.
I might just like reach across her and bop it. Like why would I break mine?
Because so you gonna climb over her?
She right there.
You have a bigger body. You still got to cross over the console.
She alright.
You missed my point. You still got to get the kids at the back seat.
Back there.
Yeah, back there.
All right, so bet. How about this? I cut her seatbelt first.
Okay.
While she going back there, I'm cutting mine. So by the time one of us retrieve it.
But what's the point of her going back there if you have the knife?
Man, maybe we need to get a class on that.
Yeah, I mean, see, you don't.
That's a tactical. Yeah,
you don't think about it. Like people be driving on these bridges, but they never think about what happens if this happens. Yeah. You got to think about who gets cut in what order, why. You know what I'm saying? What's the plan of action? If she get cuts first, so really,
and then it depends on how the car land. It might not be on 4 wheels. It might be caught.
If anybody goes unconscious from hitting the dashboard or something first. See, it's funny. This is a whole little different situation. So for me, it's like this. Okay, the windows get bust last because once you bust the windows, the water start rushing in.
True.
I need to free my people first. Then we bust the window. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole strategy. We'll talk about it later on a different episode. But so that's why I got a pocket knife.
That's reunion talk.
Reunion.
We're gonna get the whole panel.
We're gonna see what everybody's mind is at. But yeah, so how do you? So